Yeah, so, and also when I did that presentation at IMEA, I think it went pretty well, but I didn't really get to a lot of the stuff at the end, which has to do with these doohickeys and toys and stuff that I brought. So I thought maybe we could have some fun and look at some of these things. So how many of you would consider yourselves technologically savvy? Just curious. Okay. How about technologically savvy where you could start a music technology class at a school? Okay, good, good, good. How many of you use technology a lot but couldn't teach anything about it? Okay, so I find that odd. I don't know, I don't understand. You're like the children of the digital age. You should all be sort of have microchips in your brains already as life goes. So anyway, I hope that what you'll find is with a little exploration and with a little sort of experimentation that you can really end up doing a lot of interesting and sophisticated things pretty easily. So the presentation that I have here, so the presentation I have here is the same PowerPoint from when I was at IMEA. Yeah, I know, right? There you go. That's a little credibility right there. That's what that is. Okay, so essentially this is the outline of the main presentation I did. And we could skip around. Yeah, I'm going to skip around a lot and kind of move quickly through some of the stuff that I already did at IMEA. So if at any time you're like, what's that? I don't understand it. Or, hey, that looks interesting, it looks neat, raise your hand, just let me know. Jump in, otherwise I'm just going to steamroll you and pay no attention to whether you actually internalize any of this information. Okay? In a very professional way of presenting. So there's lots of different things you could talk about for technology, right? Just these general categories. Well, we can use it for our own personal education, our personal organization, and that could help us in doing our jobs from day to day by streamlining the things we do, by making our lives simpler, by organizing ourselves a little bit more. Whether it's for our personal gain and marketability or publicity in terms of your own portfolios online or websites online for private studios, or getting a job, or resources you want to put up to get yourself out there in the community, or whether it's for a music program or a school, building a simple web presence is something that's really valuable to do, right? Professional organizations and individuals are out there that have put lots of material online and resources for you, either to teach you how to do things or to just give you things you can download and use with your students, future students right away. So part of this presentation is kind of skimming through some big names in music technology who have major web presences and some big organizations in music technology that offer lots of resources for practicing teachers. Social media. People are engaged in social media every minute of every day, almost, it seems like today, and your students will be even more than you are. So thinking about how music programs intersect with social media is important. Program administration, a headache, a problem. We'd like to spend most of our time teaching, most of our time engaging students musically in one way or another. And so the more we can streamline organization and administration through technology, the better. Instructional programs, there's stuff out there that can teach for you, and with a little bit of guidance you can use really efficiently to help individualize instruction and all kinds of things. There are web-based tools or mobile applications. Some spins on music technology revolve very closely around recording technology and thinking about the kinds of skill sets that recording engineers or people in recording studios or folks who might go out and record out in the field and record events and run sound for particular musical events, right? There are skill sets and there's knowledge around that element of the music field which isn't really represented too much in school music. So I brought a whole bunch of doohickeys that we can talk about later. Do these things look familiar to anybody? Or everybody? Yeah? Okay. It's really not 21st century. Most of this stuff is really like 20th century. It's kind of funny, but it is. And then some miscellaneous stuff on the handout there for you. So this is one thing I did in IMEA. You can keep a running score, but I think we're just going to flip through it. It's basically a little yes or no checklist where you can say, can I do these things? Imagine if, as part of your upper divisional, which you all remember so fondly from a couple of days ago, if there was also a test where we said, do you understand the capabilities of different levels of music notation software? Yes or no. Create a musical score with a notation program? Yes or no. Demonstrate how to edit a score with a notation program. Show how to scan and edit, and then edit a printed score instead of like all these various competencies. Imagine if you were to quiz yourself, could you do these things? And if not, should you teach yourself how to do them or figure out a way to do them before you graduate or while you're on the job if you want to incorporate music technology? So it's a list of basic competencies. This is just so hilarious that I wanted to include it again. Everybody remember this joke from IMEA? I don't know, Gary, they're not digital. It appears we're in some sort of undeveloped country. So I think, thank you, yeah, thank you. I didn't make this up, unfortunately. It's NFakes, which is an unfortunate name, but that's true, NFake. So, I mean, who are the students and who are the teachers in this slide in our field? Yeah, we're the film generally, and especially I'm the film. I mean, you know, the thin in here, the person is, we're definitely the film to our students. You guys, maybe not so much. And the next generation of people that come through 5 or 10 years from now, maybe it won't be an issue. It'll be digital and optical or something then, I don't know. But that's the idea is that when you're thinking about music technology, it's not because technology teaches better necessarily, or technology allows you to do things in just a novel and interesting way. But one of the reasons for incorporating technology, and perhaps the main reason, is because it's part of student culture. It's part of what students are, right? Students are increasingly digital in the things they do. They're increasingly connected through web media and with each other instantaneously, right? They're used to getting things immediately through technological means. How many of you know the Dewey Decimal System? Yeah, right? So maybe I saw a really funny meme on Facebook today. It was somebody, it was like Googling 30 years ago, and it was a woman at like a card catalog looking through something. So that's not instantaneous. That's like the opposite of instantaneous. But your kids will expect instantaneous. So if you're not thinking about incorporating technology, even if you're teaching very traditional subject matter or things in the way you do it, you may not connect with the kids, right? And that's, of course, the most important thing. And of course, they're filled with multimedia. They're used to being, having multimedia around them at all times and if possible in all settings, right? Which is, I don't know about you guys, but maybe it was beginning for you when you were in elementary and middle school. For me, I went home and watched the reruns of the Brady Bunch after school, and that was my multimedia of the day. And if I was lucky, we got like a film strip where you put a cassette tape, run the narrative, and some of the lucky student would get to push the highly technological button to advance the slides. So, and we also have these VCRs. But anyway, they're filled with multiple. Okay, so then we have to think about our curricula in music education. We have traditional curricula, and what do we need to think about for technology and traditional curricula? How can we enrich this? How can we bring in student culture to what we do? How can we make playing a march? How can we make singing a chorale? How can we make playing Bach or Beethoven? How can we integrate technological culture within that experience? Or should we just push it off to the side and do new things and create just iPad ensembles? Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's your philosophy, but either way, it's okay. But if you want to preserve traditional, if you want to do some traditional stuff with your kids, you probably need to figure out a way to make it relevant, or at least dress it up in relevant clothing, right? So how can we continue to adapt what we do traditionally and connect the kids through it? How can we innovate within traditional models? Can we use GarageBand in concert band? Can we use the kinds of skills, or can we incorporate the kinds of skills and knowledge that might be developed by using compositional notation, free notation software online, where students can interface and through sort of a social media platform share compositions and stuff in a choir setting? Or do we need to have a separate music technology lab to do that? So that's what I mean by, can we innovate in the traditional setting, or should we just sort of move on? But also, we need to think about doing alternative stuff to traditional stuff. Who else could we reach if we do stuff other than traditional curriculum? Students who elect to do performance ensembles, wonderful. What about students who don't? Maybe technology is where they would find themselves. Maybe they would love to be a roadie. Maybe they would love to be the sound engineer at the next Abbey Road or something. Could we provide experiences that might set them up for those kinds of skills? Probably can. So for traditional curriculum, we're talking about innovating and adapting. For alternative curriculum, we're talking about who else can we reach, how can we develop experiences for them, right? And so we can think about 21st century skills and the kinds of things that if our district asks us to align our curricula with 21st century skills, the kinds of things we might emphasize in music technology, or that might be easy to emphasize in music technology. Right? Communication and collaboration through cloud-based applications, or working together in technology projects, or through labs and workstations. Information literacy, media literacy, incorporating video and audio and narrative and original composition in a single project, for example. Technological literacy, Social and cross-cultural skills, if you're Skyping in students from across the country or other countries or other areas, right? And teaching them about musics of other areas or disciplines. We had a candidate on campus yesterday who did a presentation. I'm not sure if any of you were at Lauren Richard's presentation. So. But she was talking, yeah, you were at one. She was talking about projects, for example, where a band is playing the whole second suite, and she just did a quick YouTube search and found like 800 videos of the whole second suite online, and very quickly found 40 or so decent ones that were from different countries all around the world. And so making connections or showing students that this sort of omnipresence of these traditions is pretty interesting, I think. What if your school's into Common Core? Well, researching, media tech analysis, production media, these are things that technology can help. National standards, well, we sort of shy away from these things in traditional curricula, but what if we really want to at least touch on national standards in each of the traditional curricula? We can incorporate, maybe more easily than not, with technology, improvising, composing, arranging, relations to other arts. How many of you have used Band in a Box? Yeah? Anybody use iRealBook? I mentioned this morning. Yeah? All right. Yeah. So there's really simple ways to get students improvising over basic backgrounds and accompaniments, and I'll try to save some time to show you those things. Okay, and our national standards are being revised. So there's all kinds of different implications for what music education may look like in incorporating technology in 21st century types of thinking about the world around us. Important. Okay, personal organization. Any of these look familiar to you? Yeah. What do you use?
Yeah. Well, my dad used to use Google Reader.
Yeah. Did they just cancel it?
Yeah.
They just canceled it a week ago. So a little while ago, this was there. The idea of Google Reader, though, is that it consolidates things that have RSS feeds, so things that are automatically updated come into your feed. Yeah. You use Evernote? What do you use it for?
I actually used it for the placement auditions for this semester for like band and orchestra, and I got all my rep and audition rep and put notes on it and recordings of myself playing it and stuff like that.
So you created like a log, a practice log almost out of it.
It helped to have my recordings on it too.
There's at least one or two students in some of my classes that take all of their class notes on Evernote, and you can organize them and tag them or whatever. And you can make notes that are written, that are just audio notes speaking into it, that are video, that are pictures and all that kind of stuff. And it syncs very quickly around. And of course, like the moment I told a bunch of people to try Evernote, it was hacked, and everybody's passwords were sort of vulnerable, and there was a big update like a week later. But they did the big update, so and nobody has stolen my identity yet, as far as I know, unless I'm not really me. I didn't mean to scare you. Sometimes I commit, but I'm making a joke. So anyway, yeah. So you want to be wary, of course, with your personal information and security. But it's a great product. Notability is another one that's pretty good that people use, but it's only for iOS, I think, for iPads and iPhones and things. Anybody use JotNot? I love JotNot. Use something similar to JotNot. You can take pictures and turn those into PDFs. And so if I'm in the library and I can't take out a journal or whatever, different pages, turn it into a PDF, great resolution, send it myself, and it's uploaded. It's there. It's great. It's wonderful. And then Google Reader, let's not talk about that. All right, so you've all had to do now an electronic portfolio. Right? How many of you are Google Citers in your electronic portfolios? Weeblers? Bloggers? WordPressers? Wixers? Yeah.
I have like 5 websites.
Yeah, 5 websites. And what's the NAfME one on for all of you that frequent it on occasion from now to now? What? Yeah.
Wait, not our blog.
Our blog, yeah.
Oh, it's not Google.
Blogger, which is Google.
Which is
Yeah.
Google.
So these are, and you could literally put together a website that looks fairly good in like a half an hour with this stuff. And of course, if you want it to be great, it'll take you a long time. You want to think about it and organize what you put on there and all that stuff. But if you're at a school where they would like a web presence for a program, or maybe you have a student group or you want the students to do a project where they put together like a press kit for their chamber ensemble or something, you can do things like that are immediately with programs and tools that are immediately accessible to people. your students will be able to use WordPress and Weebly and Blogger just like you're able to use it for your portfolios pretty easily, right? So whereas in the past, you might have had students put together you know, a book report or a binder report on a particular musical style or something like that. The report now can be a Prezi, or it could be a website that the students contribute multimedia products of themselves playing, of interviews with people in their community, other teachers, of written documents, of pictures of things that they found, and links to all places all over the internet, right? So incorporating technology in your teaching would be very easy with these things and give your students those media literacy skills at the same time. On the other hand, just for you, professionally and organizationally, you can create something for your kids if you want them to be out there. I use WordPress. I have a ridiculous blog that is really not very good, but it serves its purpose. I think I get like 6 hits a day. It's like not very good, I don't think. But then again, I'm not trying to get it never changes. My blog site never changes. I don't blog on my blog site. So it's more, I use it in an archaic way. It's like I have a digital camera, but I'm trying to put film in it. It's kind of how I use it. So, but anyway, I use WordPress because I think it's fancy and pretty. Okay. So some other multimedia, speaking of multimedia, some other multimedia skills you might think about. Create a DVD that contains artifacts of creative work for a portfolio. Record, edit, and produce a digital video on a music topic. Demonstrate the ability to attach and use a computer or other digital device to control a video projector, smartboard, or other. So can you do these things? Do you have these skills? If you do, they may set you apart from some others too. I'll go backwards. Let's go forward. Look deeply into my PowerPoint. So what is the difference between web technology and Web 2.0, Mr. Sarvich? Did you bring enough pizza for everybody, Mr. Spicoli? No? Okay. What do you think? What is Web 2.0? I don't know. Yes, you do, because I told you in class last year. No, that's not true. I don't know. What's the difference between when people say Web 2.0? What do they mean? Social media? Is that what you said? Yeah. What's different about a website from 10 years ago and social media today? Yeah.
I think that everything can be shared on all of those things.
Right. So they can be shared, and it's not just information that somebody puts up there, but it's user-contributed information as well, or user-generated content. Right? So I use WordPress as a platform for people to interact with. I use WordPress as my website, and you can go and get information about me. But there's no interaction where users can ask questions or blog or comment on things, right? So Web 2.0 is that interactive process, which Facebook is, right? It's something where you connect with people and you report out, and they report on your wall, and they post things, and you tag people in it, and you create groups and all that kind of stuff. Twitter's the same idea. You follow people, and people can follow you. Now you can post video right through Vine. You can still do that. Blogging, same idea. Wikis. Anybody use wikis in class yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I tried to use wikis in class. I haven't really found it very interesting yet. But anyway, wikis is where you can put up a project or a document and not just, it's like a Google Doc, but you can edit, it's basically a Google Doc where you can edit collaboratively. Anybody use it for particularly innovative, in a particularly interesting or innovative way in your classes?
I don't know, we're doing the music undergrad study with the grad students with the Blue Wiki for
And so what's particularly interesting about that?
nothing yet, because we haven't had anything.
Okay.
But it's cool that you can have open forum with like information or posts. Like it's like Wikipedia, which I didn't even know existed beyond Wikipedia, but apparently a wiki is a multiple things, and like I really did not know that was possible. But yeah, so if I were to post a whole article or lesson plan or whatever, someone could go on and change it or add corrections or like, what's it called? When you want to correct something.
They can edit.
Suggestions, you know, stuff like that.
Post comments.
There you go, that one.
They can link to it, and they can create categories and chapters and things. So Wikipedia is an example of a wiki, right?
Yeah.
There are other wikis out there. I think you guys know Charlie Edmonds. It's a master student in music ed. I think she did some wiki projects with her students, actually. And I only know that because from random. I was randomly searching for music ed wikis one day, and like a website that she created came up because I asked her. Which is weird, right? Like, it's kind of stalkery. So, anybody ever use Second Life? No, anybody have a first life? I'm still working on that.
Oh my god.
Second life is a virtual reality where you play like a video game essentially, and you have an avatar, like in World of Warcraft, right, or SimCity or whatever, maybe, or Sim whatever. And so, but people use this in education to do distance learning very often, and have set up virtual classrooms. So let's set up a virtual campus, and a virtual building, and a virtual room, and then you'll all walk your avatars like in a video game to that room and talk to each other through your avatars. Yeah. And you can set your character up to fly and do cool things. But it's a way that people are using to try and enrich interactive education. I mean, thinking about the kind of interaction you might get from a Second Life virtual reality type of video game play versus running, say, like Comment Thread, where it's like a chat room type thing. It's very different. It creeps me out, but people use it.
I'm actually just curious, what age group do people usually use Second Life with? Like younger kids or like high school?
Collegiate so far. Is
Oh,
what
really?
I've seen. Yeah. Professors who are doing like online courses and things like that.
So
Okay, anyway. So that's Web 2.0. Social media, we know about social media. I can send this, I'll put this PowerPoint up on, I'll send it out to the NAfME, put it on the masterclass if you want links and stuff. This guy does a cool blog about music for Psychology Today. This guy is one of those people that I mentioned who's a great resource for all things music technology. He was simultaneously teaching in the public schools in New Jersey while being an adjunct professor at Columbia Montclair State in New Jersey. And he has a music technology podcast. He's been a consultant for firms that create music technology products and things like that. So other resources, professional organizations, the Association of Technology for Music Instruction, Technology Instruction for Music Education, the International Society for Technology and Education, the International Computer Music Association, I think. There are all kinds of organizations that have conferences, they have grant contests, they give out resources, they do reviews of software and things like that. There sometimes time in ATMI, especially, or ones that I've followed a little bit, will piggyback on top of a state conference or like the regional NAfME conference or something like that and do one in conjunction. And I haven't been to one myself, but it would be really interesting to go. Smithsonian Folkways, you guys use that? Great, great resources for multicultural music. The cool thing about Smithsonian Folkways is you can get videos of authentic practice, what people are doing, which is great. And then other places like, or organizations like the Kennedy Center for the Arts and New York Philharmonic, all these places have, tend to have as an outreach component on their website, great little kids games and flash games and other kinds of program games that you can use for educational purposes. My daughter loves them. All right, other people. Barbara Friedman just wrote a book, and she has a great website, musictech.com, to use. Amy Burns has a website especially for general music, and one of the cool things about her blog or her website is that it has hundreds of reviews of music apps for mobile platforms and things like that. So if you're interested in looking for something about your own, she's got it out. David B. Williams, retired from University of Illinois, great. All these people, great. Peter Webster, recently retired from Northwestern. Again, the links to their sites and check it out, peruse it. All right, so what if you want to use technology to help you administer your music program or articulate your curriculum across schools? We use Doodle with the NAfME. We've used that before, right? And how many of you have used something like that where you, basically it's a collaborative platform in a cloud computing setting where everybody goes in and indicates what days and times are free, and voila, you have a meeting time. If people go to do it, of course. Google Drive, everybody use Google Drive? Yeah, so Google Drive, you can have free upload space, wonderful stuff for agendas and collaborative work. Everybody, I'm sure, has video chatted at some point. Consider the possibilities for your classrooms as long as you can get a good feed, unlike some of the master classes we've done. And then, of course, Dropbox and other cloud computing things, too. Prezi is great as a alternative to PowerPoint, which is kind of ironic since I'm not using Prezi right now. It takes a long time to put together as Prezi, or tends to, unless you're really good at it, or use it all the time. So I'll show you the one I did last time. Using YouTube to create videos that you could post on websites and things, of course, is a great resource. Or Vimeo. Somebody mentioned Uvu. Anybody use Uvu? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Uvu's another one. And this guy, Pete Sampson, anybody know him? Teaches at Whiteland High School. Yeah, you saw his...
Or his class at
his session 98, yeah. What did you think of the program?
It seems really beneficial.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see it more, see it applied to different schools other than just these. They seem really useful.
Yeah, so a lot of the things that you could do in separate Excel databases on your own, or email lists and things that you have to maintain or update and whatnot, you can put all in one all-encompassing program and create messages and organize your program through this My Music Office program. I went to see a student teacher with him just recently and was asking me about it, and there are tons of people all over the country that are using it. They use professional server space and all that, professional servers and all that stuff, so it's a real deal. Check it out. Okay, some more types of competencies: teaching, collaboration, distance learning, creative work, using our All Skills Music Theory software program, the simulation software title that helps students compose and/or improvise music, program to assist musical accompaniment. Hardware and software might be used to assist in improving music performance skills. Explain criteria for selecting software. Show how notation software might be used, etc. Some things to think about. Okay. Programs that can be used specifically for instruction: iMovie or Windows Movie Maker if you're into video podcasts or blogging. Audio editing programs like GarageBand and Audacity, of course, and I'll try to show you some examples of the GarageBand thing in a while. Making accompaniment tracks and band in a box, I already mentioned quickly. If you're not aware of Smart Music, how many people are not aware of Smart Music? Okay, Smart Music is a great program. It has a lot of stock. It's aligned with educational music literature, which is one of the things that makes it great. And so students can have a student subscription to Smart Music, and teachers can have a teacher subscription. They can go home and play along with accompaniments to their repertoire, and the program will evaluate their proficiency in terms of notes and rhythms and things. You could also use it to log time practicing, I believe, and you can, if you're the teacher and your students complete an assignment at home, the grades and their evaluation for that assignment can be immediately uploaded to your gradebook, which means you don't have to listen to a whole bunch of recordings on cassette tapes or mini discs or whatever on the computer.
We actually seen that in use.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't actually heard anything about it being used.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that use it. One of my friends who teaches at a really great sort of National Band Association, or BOA kind of events for middle school and things. He uses it all the time with his kids right from the beginning. There's a guy in Greenwood. Yeah.
I used Smart Music at my high school.
You did?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It's kind of cool. Because I know for solo ensemble one semester I did my actual performance with a Smart Music accompaniment as part of a trial, like a basis thing, and it works pretty well. Once you learn to use it.
Yeah, so I think it's extremely practical and pretty prevalent. Okay, let's get those other two: music fundamentals theory and or piano. So if you do have a computer lab, or if you do have a music technology or a piano lab class, or a basic music theory class isn't necessarily an AP music theory class, or maybe even if it is, relying on some computer-assisted instruction or some software where students can individually work at their own pace to accomplish objectives is a great idea. All these programs will do that for you. So some other web-based things that aren't necessarily things to download to your computer and install. Has anybody used Moodle? Yeah, what did you use for?
Like high school physics class.
Yeah.
And then I also used Blackboard.
Right, and so Blackboard is like, if other universities' on-course systems are often run by the company Blackboard or WebCT. It's another company. So it's like on-course in lots of ways. It's a course management system where you can upload stuff for students. You can upload modules and videos and assignments and things like that. And Moodle is sort of a free version of that. So, yeah.
Well, just this year after I left my high school, gave everyone a laptop and we used
They do, yeah.
every class.
Wow. How's that working out?
Yeah. I talked to my band director about it. He said that he can get all the kids getting updates about
It's good, band stuff. So how about smartboards? Anybody have a chance to experiment with smartboards? Yeah? What do you think?
They're cool.
They're awesome.
When they don't defect, they're awesome.
As in leave the country? Or?
What? Oh my god! Those little things.
So what do you think that they're especially? I've never actually used a smartboard, but I know people praise them up and down. So what's particularly beneficial about it?
It's kind of nice having possibly students up to the front of the board, which you could do with Blackboard, but with the web, also with it, they can interact directly with the web at the front of it.
Well, I know for me personally, pretty much every classroom in my high school had its own smartboard.
Wow.
So, and it made it interesting because each teacher kind of had a different teaching style. So like my history teacher who just like did lectures would have her PowerPoints up, and it's nice because that was at the front of the room and the computer was at the back of the room, and she wasn't speaking to her back. She was still able to be at the front, just click on it, go through the PowerPoint, and then it was personalized because whatever questions people could ask, she could circle things right in the margin, and it's kind of like a blackboard that changes backgrounds.
Right.
It makes it more.
That's fairly. It sounds like fairly traditional use, but again.
In high school, I worked at my synagogue at a Sunday school for elementary students, and the teacher that I worked for loved to use it to make games out of to help teach like the younger kids about certain stories or holidays and concepts. So she would do things like using some like publisher software and put pictures in it and then cover them with a block of color and put like a question at the top, and the student would have to like guess what it was, and they got to go up and move the block to the side, which they thought was the coolest thing. They would see the answer there. Or like you have to like, it was like a matching game, and you had to find the two of the same thing and then put the thing back over it. And it was just a really interactive way to do games that you didn't have to spend hours with cutting papers and creating poster boards and all that.
Really easy to modify too.
Yeah.
One and then two.
And it's really practical for multi-day lessons, especially because you could be writing a bunch of notes on the board, and then at the end of the day, you save it, and the next day you pull it up right where you left off.
As students, can you download the notes that are on the board?
They can put them online.
It's
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, I've seen it used in a couple elementary schools around here, one of my classes, and I don't know how long it will last as smart boards become more of the norm, but it was really useful in getting some of the kids that maybe wouldn't have been so interested in participating. They were very excited about coming up to the front of the room and getting the teacher kind of used the smartboard as an incentive to participate in the class, and so I don't know how long that'll last if like high schools now have them everywhere.
The
But
novelty wears off a little bit.
yeah, but it could be, especially with younger students, they kind of see the excitement in playing with the board and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, going up to the board is kind of like a punishment, whereas going to smartboard is like, oh, I get to use the smartboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can, the cool thing is you can do that stuff without a smartboard. If you don't have all the money or the financing to do it, there's an app called Splashtop that is fairly expensive, so I haven't bought it because you need either to be connected, which is kind of impractical, but you can be connected, right, to a VGA or a projector or something with a tablet or something. But ideally, you're working wirelessly through Apple TV or through something like that, or a wireless receiver or router or something like that. So if you have an Apple TV and you're an Apple person, an iOS person, you can use the Apple TV to coordinate all of your devices, your computer, wirelessly, and project from any device you want, run music, run your programs, whatever you want to do. And so with that, your smartboard can kind of be, okay, here, figure out the problem, and give it out to a student. Or if they have multiple things, they can use it, and you can write on it just like a touch screen. The smartboard too. So there are ways around the physical smartboard if you, but you can do some similar kinds of things. Okay, other web-based things. SoundCloud. And use SoundCloud? Yeah, I love SoundCloud. SoundCloud's great. So I was thinking of showing you this. Oh, this is the Prezi that I did. How many of you guys were at that masterclass a year ago or so? So the difference between Prezi and PowerPoint is that it's three-dimensional in the sense that it can move around and go in different directions. And you map out a presentation. So this is a presentation, and then you plot points where you want to go. You map out I was having fun looking at it.
Oh.
So you map out a presentation, right? And then, and then you plot different points along the presentation for how you want it to go. So the first click brings you to the center. The second click brings you to congratulations. And the third click brings you to a couple of words to think about. The next click brings you to a task. And, so basically you set up plots. Something a little bit different. So here's SoundCloud. Yeah, I am on. Yeah. So you can upload an audio file and then include comments on that audio file wherever you want, and you can allow. You could allow students to get access to this audio file as well. And so, for example, I use this in my class E130, and I have students upload what they consider to be expressive performances, and then create comments at various points where expressive things are or are not happening, and then adding on other comments, commenting on comments with pedagogical means for how they would teach those things. So you could upload examples of your rehearsals and things and have students comment to do self-peer evaluation and self-evaluation, and also comment on each other's comments in a very kind of social way. Or you could have students practicing at home and uploading practice and having a practice buddy kind of do peer review of each other's practice or something, and giving them feedback. So you can do all kinds of cool things very easily with that stuff. Okay, so other things that are online that you can use, there's TrueFire, there's a great website of videos for guitar instruction. There's this cool program that's it's kind of funny, when you do a presentation at a conference somewhere and somebody notices it's on a certain topic, like I got 3 or 4 emails from people who are selling technological music products before I did the technology presentation at IMEA, asking if I could tell everybody about their product. And JoyTunes was one of them. It's actually a pretty neat thing. It's basically like a smart music for recorder curriculum. So kids can practice at home on recorder with things, and not just practice, but they can play games where if they play certain notes at the right time, like things happen on the screen, like video game-like things happen. So it's kind of like Recorder Hero, you know, it's like a guitar, and it responds to the sound, which is really cool. So I added it in the presentation. And of course, there's music theory stuff that I'm sure many of you know about. Yeah, so mobile applications. So once people, I think there's an interesting uptake when people get a smartphone or start using mobile apps and stuff. It's like all of a sudden their entire world has to be apped. You know, they have to use an app for everything. So there are lots of apps out there as a result. Not all of them are really useful or great, but most of them are pretty fun. So it's kind of like choosing and understanding how to make this stuff. iPad and music education blog. Oh, yeah, iPad and technology and music education. So there's an actual blog devoted to that. So if you're interested in that, well, there's our friend Evernote, right? Everybody thinks Evernote's great. So there's all kinds of articles in here and resources as to different apps that you can have on your iPad and how to use them in your teaching. So I'm gonna pull something very risky here for a moment. Why did it kick me in the mirror and I clicked that link or something? Okay. So another place to get really good information about apps and whatnot is Facebook. iBand directors, that's a great little group to join. And they have, I knew it, Moby Flat. That's a random one. So, but you have people that are just asking questions that are really simple and they get really good answers from other folks. I finally got an Apple TV and a plasma installed, we're good to go. Any good apps out there for lesson plans? So just kind of trolling this group actually can give you some pretty good... Did I use that word the right way?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Or did I?
Trolling would be to go on there and post fake things on everything.
Oh, I see. No, that's definitely what I... so just being a wallflower in this group?
Just look.
Looking?
Lurking?
Lurking?
Loitering?
Stalking.
So there's a lot of great ideas here and instructions. People put up questions that they have about things that aren't working really well and whatnot. And this is a coach's eye that slows down video that people can use. Things like that, and you just can get great ideas and get interesting advice. There's another one called I Teach Music Technology that has some cool things as well. Like here's somebody even just asking, anybody want to do a Skype in my band orchestra? No. This is that woman, Barbara Friedman, I mentioned. She's very present on these blogs, I guess, and sort of promoting her own stuff sometimes, but also gives some really great answers when people have questions. So here's one, for example. So I'm thinking of going with Logic as opposed to Pro Tools. How many people know what Logic and Pro Tools are? They're like professional versions of GarageBand, right? Or Digital Performer, similar thing that we use here at school. And so there are 12 replies about the pluses and minuses, or strengths and weaknesses of using that, and other questions asking for more context and stuff. So it's a great forum. So let's take a deep breath and get away from my Facebook page. You never know the deep dark secrets I harbor. I don't think the
It is, actually. It just likes to conserve battery. Just means it's smart.
Okay, so we were here. Here's a whole bunch of apps that are pretty neat. Tempo is a great metronome. Tap That, I mentioned that one at NAfME-IU. Have you guys used that yet? Yeah. But it's really great. Like I was talking to somebody who was evaluating students' ability to stay on tempo and stay with a steady tempo. And she said it was really hard. It's hard to get an objective sense. And you can use that app to just tap along, and it'll tell you what tempo you're at. All right, well, let me skip through this a little bit, and I'll plug in my iPad and iPhone a little bit later. Okay, so if you're going to start a recording technology course, what are some things that you might use? I didn't get to this stuff at NAfME-IU. I want to make sure I do here. Theremin, right? Everybody know Theremin? It's cool because you can build it, and you can learn about basic ideas of sound, frequency, of amplitude, of the electronics behind sound production and amplification just by building it. So it's neat. Get a Theremin. Plus it's fun. You can make like 1950s sci-fi soundtracks. Dr. Strand has one. How many of you played Dr. Strand's Theremin?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure you guys have seen Zoom recorders around. Lee has what I'd recommend you getting if you want to get a sort of quick digital recorder and video camera in one. Zoom makes a great one. Kodak makes really great cheap HD cameras. I have one of those that I use for like recording your teaching stuff or recording student teachers. M-Audio makes a great digital sound recorder too. But that's all great stuff to have if you want to do basic recording or tech course, because you can get students to go out into the field, go out into the world, and get decent quality recordings of things very quickly without a lot of equipment and without a lot of expense either. So having things like that are good. Microphones. Shure is a terrific, high-quality brand of microphone, and this is the SM58. This is the classic vocal microphone that vocalists use. You'll see it on TV all the time now that you've seen this microphone. But it's sort of, if you're looking for a great all-around vocal microphone to use for PA address or for singing, this is a great one to use. Anybody know? Just curious. It's a cousin for instrumental.
Just learned this like 2 weeks ago.
Is it the one that's up there?
No, this is Shure SM57.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that, yeah. So SM57 is what, if you ever look up or look for reviews in SM57, audio folks say every studio should have 2 SM57s and 2 SM58s. So you can do a stereo recording of an instrument or an ensemble or something. The SM57 and the SM58 are just designed in different ways to be more receptive to loud versus vocal sounds, right? So brass instruments, woodwind instruments. You can even use SM57s for miking amplifiers if you don't have a direct line into a PA system of some kind. So anyway, Shure is a very reliable brand, and the SM57 and SM58 are great for vocal and instrumental miking in general, and will both cost you about $100 each. And that's a really good price for a really good mic. The Blue company makes wonderful computer mics for interfacing computers. These are just standard mics that you could plug in anywhere and anything. Blue, the company Blue makes, I have it written it here, but a microphone called the Yeti. It's very popular. It also has some smaller ones too, but the Yeti microphone is essentially one of these. A large condenser microphone, a relatively high quality condenser microphone, and instead of having a microphone jack, it has a USB cable. So you can get a high quality condenser microphone recording that goes directly into your computer without needing something like this to translate an analog sound into a digital signal. Okay. Old news for everybody? A little bit? Yeah, a little bit? Okay. So, all right, well, so Blue, the Yeti is a great one, but as I mentioned, they also make smaller ones that are that start to get really small and look at like things like this, right? These mics, on the other hand, are 8-inch, just have 8-inch jack inputs. This is a micro stereo microphone from Sony, and you could plug this into your audio in any traditional computer. You can get a pretty good sound out of something like this. You could hook it into other kinds of audio devices. They make things like this that can pop on top of an iPhone or on an iPad audio jack with an iPad plug as well. And this is another Sony mic that I bought a long time ago. The same idea, you can get decent sound, much better sound than you could from, say, the computer's built-in audio recording for, I think this was like $60 when I bought it. And it essentially is a mic and a preamp all in one, in that it has a little AA battery inside. So if you're using a standard microphone, a signal will come through the mic and run through the wire. It needs to be, you need a preamp. You need something to amplify that signal in order to either project it through a speaker or to translate it to a computer. Whereas if you're using one of these direct ins or USB microphone, that's all built into the system. So it's less complicated in terms of the materials that you need or whatnot. But of course, it's different sounds. Having a mixing board, if you want to start a recording program as part of the technology course, is essential, right? Or it could be very helpful, because you want to teach students not only how to record a single sound source, but how to take multiple sound sources and combine them in a way that shows production knowledge and production skill. So how to balance, in other words, how to temper frequencies for various channels and from various mic sources or onboard sources or digital sources, and using a mixing board can help you do that with live sound. So the key, if you want to use a digital audio workstation, or if you want to use GarageBand or Logic or Pro Tools or something with acoustic from an acoustic sound source, is having some kind of an audio interface. So Tascam, I've done more research, and now I'm less convinced that Tascam is any good at all. But so take that with a grain of salt. Do your own review. But an audio interface basically takes an analog signal and translates it into digital. It's a fancy version of your computer's sound card, basically, and it's a more important or a better version of the sound card. This is an audio interface. So right now, I actually have the sound of my computer is running through this to the speakers. If I were to play something, it wouldn't come from my computer. It would come from this. It's by default taken over as a sound card. This is connected to the computer via USB. They also make more expensive and better ones that connect via FireWire, and I don't know if they make Lightning ones yet. They do make, there are a couple out there in the market that will go directly to iOS products and things like that. There's some by Alesis, A-L-E-S-I-S, and there's some by Apogee that will do that, and maybe Motu as well. But anyway, this is an audio interface where you can plug in an acoustic microphone, right, an analog microphone source, into one of the channels, into the microphone, and so this has built in with it, this little light is on here, a preamp that boosts the signal and also converts the computer in here, basically converts the audio, the analog audio signal to digital audio so the computer can understand it and record it. So if you wanted to play duets with yourself and record that on multiple tracks in GarageBand or Pro Tools or Audacity, you could play into your computer speakers and your computer onboard recording equipment in the computer, and that's going to sound awful, right? Or you could play into one of these kinds of things, and it'll sound a little bit better, but still won't get a great source sound. If you want to mic it and really capture the room quality of the sound and get a good sound on it, you need to have some kind of interface that will help the computer understand that analog information. This is like the simplest kind of digital audio interface you can have. There are all other kinds of ways you can make a digital audio interface happen. This one only has 2 channels or 2 inputs. These are called combo jacks. So if you're starting a recording program, you had kids that were bass players and guitar players, and they had, right, their guitar cords have a plug like this. What size plug is this? It's a 1/4-inch plug, right? So you can take their jack and put it right in the center of this input. So that's why they're called combo jacks. You can use 1/4-inch or this kind of cable, which is called what? What? Half-inch? Yes, of course. XLR. These are called XLR cables. So XLR cables have these 3-prong, basically hot-cold ground leads in them. So this kind of input called the combo jack is called a combination because you can plug a guitar directly into it, or you can push the switch over here and tell the audio interface that a passive microphone is coming in and needs to be amplified. All right. So the digital audio interface, and this is the simplest one. As I was saying, that pretty much you can get. It's a great interface. I found it for a great deal. Made by a company, Focusrite. It's a British company. The reason why I bought this one as opposed to say a Tascam or an M-Audio simple one or some other company that makes a simple one is because the preamp in this one is really good. So what that means is when I record acoustic sounds, even though it's a really basic element, it's going to amplify that sound in such a way that it doesn't become distorted, that it's clear, it captures a lot of the fidelity in the sound. Whereas others don't do that quite as reliably. So what else can serve as an audio interface besides like an I/O box, sometimes they're called, or an interface like this? You could have a mixing board that can serve with a FireWire output that can serve. So instead of having 2 just inputs or 2 mics or guitar and a mic or whatever, you can have a mixing board with 8 or 16 inputs that has a FireWire jack out. Right? Yeah. There's lots of different ways. You can use the USB microphone. Anyway, if you want to start basic, something like this is, I think it was like $130, $100 microphone. This is another $100 microphone. It's a condenser microphone as opposed to a vocal mic. And it's by AKG. It's a great company. It's like the lowest line of a good microphone that they make, literally. So it's $100. I found it on Amazon for like 60, so I bought it right away. Another great mic that if you wanted to get one good mic to record something would be, there's a mic made by the company Audio Technica. It's the AT2020. It's a common mic that people buy. So anyway, okay. So what else would you need? Well, you probably want to give students opportunities, not just to record sounds acoustically and be able to manipulate them digitally and edit them digitally and create multiple tracks digitally, but also you want them to be able to input sounds directly digitally, right? So some kind of a MIDI interface device. MIDI stands for musical
Instrument.
Musical instrument digital instrument. And so basically, what does this do? This sends signals about how hard and how fast and which key was being pressed, right? So it sends digital information. And then you can assign any number or almost any sound to each of these keys or any of the keys. So it could operate like a standard keyboard. It could operate like a synthesizer and get trumpet sounds or get flute sounds or get drum sounds. You could use a synthesizer and create your own timbre and assign and control that timbre through pitch with the MIDI controller, right? So it's basically pure digital information. All right. Well, what else do you need before I jump ship here a little bit? Computer. Yeah. Probably want a computer. Oh, either that or you want a really nice tape recorder. But I don't think you want it. Most people don't use tapes anymore, and if they do, it's because they have some kind of fancy vintage studio reel-to-reel system or multi-track system that is not something you're going to have in a classroom. So obviously computer. Most people I talk with like Mac, except for really hardcore people who like PC because they say you can do more things with it. But in terms of getting students up and running and making projects, Mac is just easier to use, I think. For me too, it's easier to use. Getting good headphones, right? If you have multiple workstations where students can be working on multiple digital projects around the room, you can't have that sound confusing each other. You need to get good quality headphones where students can make decisions about how to equalize a certain sound frequency band, right? Should I amplify or pass or decrease the frequencies in the lower frequencies and boost the high frequencies in the sound. Well, you can't make that judgment by listening through computer speakers. You can make that judgment by listening in a nice sound-treated room in a studio booth with beautiful monitor speakers, but in a classroom, that's impractical unless you have a classroom that has like 6 sound booths or something. So really nice or decent headphones, like $30 or $40 closed-ear headphones that students can listen to will work. Or else studio monitor speakers, and it might not be bad to have one set of those as in a teacher station. A power conditioner is a fancy power strip that basically makes sure that if you have large components of equipment, it won't short out. Electronic drums, guitars, things that students can put into the computer and play on. What's the benefit of having electronic drums as opposed to having to mic acoustic drums?
Not everyone has to hear.
Nobody has to hear it, yeah. What do you need to mic a drum set?
A lot of mics.
If you really want to get a great drum sound, you need a mic for the kick drum, you need a mic for the snare, you need mics hanging over the cymbals, and then one kind of omni mic hanging. So you're not going to get a good sound anyway unless you have a really nice drum setup, which could be a cool project for students to work on for sure. How the midterm could be getting a good drum set sound and learning how to mic it and balance it and multi-track record it. But in most situations, having electronic drums or virtual drums from Roland or something that are essentially plastic mini triggers, where every time you hit it, it sends a digital signal, just like every time you hit a key on a controller is probably more practical. Okay, still old stuff? No? Okay. Right. Some miscellaneous stuff. Note flight, the free notation thing, don't forget about that. Soundtree, Sweetwater is up in Fort Wayne, I think, right? From that area? Sweetwater is an awesome company. Are very good with their customer service and support. I bought this from Sweetwater for $50, and they called me as soon as I put the order in online and asked me if everything was okay, and all that kind of stuff. And when I got it, they're like, "Did you get it? Does it work?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like $50. Leave me alone." It's not like I dropped like $10,000 in the company. So anyway, it's great. If you want to get into other kinds of tech stuff, like actually coding and creating program scripts, Code Academy, you can learn to do it on your own. There are all kinds of resources out there for free sample sounds, and I think you have links on the handout there. Free music theory worksheets, paper, general stuff. So, okay, so let's look at a project that I was